back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. We'll have a report later in the broadcast about the very encouraging and, I consider it an honor to get the response we've gotten on this appeal for international translations into the main languages of the world of my April 3rd article about the general CIA State Department attack on the nation states starting in the Middle East, featuring Libya, but also including the other countries. We'll get to that in just a minute, but that's extreme. Again, I'm deeply honored by the response. It shows that the international audience for this program is extremely gratifying, and I think can play an important role in the current world crisis. But getting back now to this domestic U.S. situation, which of course has immediate international repercussions. We've gone through now the question of the shutdown and the Obama capitulation plan. The other thing to be said about this is that in general, we have to look, and we'll talk about this later, the coming of Donald Trump as a presidential candidate. This is the real estate speculator Donald Trump, and TV personality now, has given quite a number of interviews. We talked about them last week with Phil Berg about the Obama birth certificate. Trump now says that he's got investigators in Hawaii looking into whether Obama was really born there. Now, the importance of the birth certificate issue, if you want to stop Obama from making this dirty deal, the birth certificate can be a way to do this. And I urge leftists, if you want to stop these wars, if you want to stop these capitulations, you want to stop more tax cuts for the rich and the destruction of the social safety net, take another look at that birth certificate issue. Obama is blackmailed, and this is how it's being done, to some degree anyway. There are other ways to blackmail Obama. Look back to 1998. Clinton was planning to make a dirty deal with Gingrich, to betray his own base for a dirty deal with Gingrich. The only thing that stopped this was the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Same thing might happen today. Obama looking for a dirty deal with Boehner, quite obvious. What might stop this is some kind of a scandal, and therefore Trump coming forward may be some kind of advantage going forward. We'll talk about this in just a minute. But now let's look, returning to economic policy, let's look a little bit beyond the government shutdown. We have now the actual program of the fanatic proto-fascist Republican Party delivered by the predator Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin. Wisconsin, of course, a John Birch Society state, where the John Birch Society, the ultra-reactionaries of the 1950s and 60s, the lunatic fringe of those years, was based. Ryan comes forward now with his budget plan, and he says, this is not a budget, this is a cause. That's correct, and the cause is fascism, or neo-fascism. It's a complete reform of American society back into the model of Dickensian cruelty. The only thing missing really is the workhouse and the treadmill, but the rest of it, he's got it all. Man's inhumanity to man, the legions of greed and their ideological blindness and their ideological fury coming to full expression. What does Ryan propose? He starts off with a 10% tax cut for the super rich, the plutocrats, the malefactors of great wealth. They get another 10% reward. They're being rewarded for investing in derivatives and for offshoring jobs, shipping those overseas. This is on top of the Bush tax cuts for the rich, which Obama capitulated to last December. So another 10% tax cut. If you're getting $1 million a year, that's $100,000 more in possible tax savings. So this takes the tax rate for individuals and corporations from 35% to 25%. Now, this is supposed to be as part of a plan to balance the budget. This is ballooning, but it's ballooning all on the side of budget cuts. Now, how is this paid for? Well, let's start with Medicare. He destroys the Medicare program. He privatizes it. He reduces it to the level of a coupon, a voucher. I'm sorry. He calls it premium support. It is a voucher system. It says there will be no more Medicare. If you're over 65 and you qualify for the program, you'll get a coupon, or better yet, you'll be able to send a coupon to a private for-profit insurance company for a fixed sum. and that may be enough to pay for a policy, or it may not. The risk is shifted to you, sick, elderly person. The risk is shifted to you because if the voucher is not enough to pay for the policy, that's your problem. It's not the government's problem anymore. So he wants to wreck the program as it has been known, and it's also the case that as medical costs rise, there's no guarantee that the value of the coupon will. Let's also look at Medicaid. This is primarily thought of as a program for poor people run by the state so that low-income people get some medical care. That will be gutted. He says we're going to reduce this to block grants. In other words, we'll give the states a certain amount of cash and tell them it's up to you to decide how this is used. So that could mean the states like Mississippi will say, well, we're going to throw people off the rolls and we're going to cut the benefits. This could also be Jerry Brown in California, who now says that he's going to go ahead and try to balance the budget in California on the backs of the people because the fascist Republican Party of California has refused to go along with it. So you can see what this is going to mean. Remember that as soon as you put something in the state government, any state is easier for oligarchical interests to control than the federal government because the oligarchical interests in Washington clash more. They cancel each other out, and there's more public attention. It's easier for oligarchs to act through the agency of the states. That's why states' rights has been a reactionary slogan in all of American history, no doubt about that. But the thing about Medicaid that is also worth stressing, many people think of this as being only for poor people. It's also for older people who go into nursing homes who exhaust their resources and therefore can't pay. That's where Medicaid comes in to pay for that. And if the Medicaid doesn't pay for it, it's going to destroy the assets, the personal net worth of middle-class families if they don't want to have their elderly relatives simply die, be euthanized or exterminated, as Ryan would probably like, then it's going to require them to pay for the cost of the nursing home after a certain point. So this is a plan to destroy the accumulated assets and personal net worth of the U.S. middle class. This is a direct attack on the existence of what remains of the U.S. middle class. But Ryan doesn't care about that. He says he's going to save $771 billion over 10 years. Concerning Social Security, Ryan is too big of a coward to go after Social Security directly because he knows that a frontal attack on Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security would cause a lot of elderly people to realize that fascism is with us. So he's going to lay off on that. But it's clear Social Security will also be destroyed. How about food stamps and aid for people to have housing? Food stamps is made into a block grant. That means there will be no federal food stamp program. The food stamp program is 45 million Americans, 15% of the population live on that. This is going to go on the chopping block with Ryan. Also, if there's aid to keep you in your home, that is capped. And both of these, the food stamps and the housing, are made dependent on slave labor. You'll have to work as a scab to undercut the existing employed population to drive down wages. How about something in the future? How about aid to education? If you're poor, one of the only ways to go to college is with a Pell Grant, and the Pell Grant is not generous. It's $5,000 or thereabouts per year, which just about gets you some kind of a hope to go to a community college or a low-cost state institution. This will be cut. Ryan says there's tuition inflation. College costs are going up too much. Notice the Republicans hate higher education. Remember, the Republican plan is really that 95% of the people who are now in college won't go. So they cut federal training programs and gut the Pell Grant program. This is Ryan. This is a declaration of war by finance plutocrats against the middle class. Back in a minute.